So hello everyone. I hope we are starting on time. So let me introduce myself first. I am Jovita Gabnienė, an attorney at law working on entertainment and dispute resolution. And now I do focus on a legal side of fashion industry. And I do focus also on the technologies involved in the fashion industry. And I'm enormously happy that I have such an amazing panel today. You know, as a lawyers, we do like to ask many critical questions and sometimes not to give you the answers. So hopefully the panel will help me to give the answers to the amazing topic that we do have. Today we are discussing if the fashion industry is suffering or is it innovating. So in the panel, first of all, I'll make a short introduction. We do have here Sukhi Jutla. So hello, Sukhi.
Hi, good morning.
Sukhi is a co-founder and COO of MarketOrders. It is an e-commerce platform where the retailers of the jewelry can meet the sellers of the jewelry. And actually, the platform is empowered by the blockchain technology. I will let Sukhi later on explain in more details all of this. So also, we do have here Stefania. Hello, Stefania. Stefania Barbaglio, she actually does have an interesting history. Stefania, by the way, you're live already, so no more introduction. Stefania is a next model.
Okay, that's good.
Stefania is a next model actually, but now she is a founder and an owner of the PR agency based in London. So she's also working a lot with the tech companies. Also, we do have Karim. Hi, Karim.
Hi, everyone.
Karim is a founder and creative director of VISORE Lab. It is a very interesting online magazine and tech company which does offer an interesting fusion, so to say, of technical and fashion solutions. So later on, I'll leave to Karim to explain what is what. And also, we do have here with us Filipa. Hi, Filipa.
Hi, everyone.
Neto, who is currently a senior innovation principal at Farfetch. So I believe she has a lot to tell. And I also wanted to say that Filipa also, you know, is, I'd say, an entrepreneur by heart, as well as Sukhi, by the way, because she started the first fashion and tech business at the age of 20 in Portugal. So it was an e-commerce platform where you could, you know, rent these fancy designer dresses. So the panel is very interesting. I did some research and I see that all of you do have a love for fashion, you do have a love for technologies, but some of you probably are the tech natives, so to say, and some of you just joined to know the tech world later on. So I'd probably ask, you know, first of all, Sukhi, to tell a little bit about the company and just, you know, jumping straight away to the MarketOrders, what they are doing and what MarketOrders did in these, you know, difficult times.
Thanks, Jovita. So thanks for having me today live. I'm really pleased to be having this really insightful discussion. So I am the co-founder and chief operating officer for MarketOrders. And what we essentially do is we're a two-sided marketplace and we help independent jewelry retailers to access products that they need directly from suppliers. So we encourage suppliers to list their products on our site, and we encourage small independent retailers to place their orders. And then what we do is we sort of benefit from purchasing power by aggregating the small orders from independent jewelers, aggregate them into one large order, and then we send that large order to the supplier. And in that way, we're actually able to get bulk discount pricing. So the supplier is happy because he gets volume orders and that's what he wants. And he's also able to get access to a wider variety of customers. And on the other side, you have independent jewelers who can actually benefit from volume discounts because normally they have to go through wholesalers or distributors. So I usually say MarketOrders is like the Uber for the gold and diamond industry. What we're effectively doing is matching supply and demand in an industry which is really opaque because I feel this industry hasn't really embraced digital processes. It's still very much in-person transactions. They want to do deals based on face value because you're dealing with very high value items. So we're really just trying to encourage this industry to embrace digital innovations and digital ways of working, so that there is greater speed and innovation. Going to your second question about the impact of this pandemic. So as a startup business, we're 4 years old. We were already embracing digital ways of working. We are pretty much a remote first company. We saw the advantages of embracing technical ways of working. So my team and I, when we went into lockdown, we were used to working on Zoom and doing calls on WhatsApp and using email and other types of tools and Slack for communication. So for us, it wasn't a huge shift to change the way we were working. But in terms of business-wise, what we did do was in order to conserve cash, because cash is king, especially at a startup stage. And when there is so much uncertainty, it's best to really take care of that cash flow. So what we did was, instead of actively reaching out to new customers to onboard them, we actually changed our strategy and doubled down on product development. So right now we're actually focusing more on creating the product. So we're creating a new version of the marketplace, which is in beta version. So just behind the scenes, we're just upgrading the technology and giving a better experience to our customers.
So thank you, Sukhi. Don't disclose all the secrets right now. We should leave some for the discussion later on, because I know you have lots to tell. So thank you for this introduction. I think we could jump now to Stefania, because Stefania, you joined us the last one, but I know that you have been in the fashion business for a long time. And since we have been speaking with you, I know you know all the challenges that the traditional fashion business is facing. So could before jumping to like very advanced tech companies, could you tell us a little bit, what do you feel in the fashion business? What's the world for them now? Like the regular fashion business, which has online, not online, but on ground presence.
Sorry, Jovita, did you ask me a question? Because I couldn't hear you.
Did everyone hear the question?
Yes.
Okay, so Stefania, do you hear me well now?
Yes, now I can.
Okay, I'll put the mic a little bit more volume on my mic. So Stefania, so basically, I would like you to make a short introduction. Where do you come from? Even though I made a short representation of you, so that you are a fashionista yourself, but now you do own a PR agency, and you deal a lot with the tech companies. You also deal with the fashion companies. So, and I know that you have a background, with dealing with the retailers in fashion industry that are not only, like have tech presence, online presence, but they do also have like very land-based presence.
Yeah, exactly.
And we have been speaking that they are facing many challenges. So what do you feel are the challenges of land-based, retailers in the fashion industry?
Yeah, that's exactly. This is a very good point. So just a little bit about my background. I was a model when I was young, back in Italy. And then obviously for various reasons, it's a career that is kind of like very hard. So you go on to other things. And I studied PR, investor relation. I did some work in Italy, still in was kind of like the fashion, cinema, TV production. So fashion has always been a big thing in Italy. And then coming to London for my master's degree, then I set up my own company doing PR, investor relation, and marketing. So, but I kind of kept the kind of passion for fashion, and I had the really good contact that I developed with the big brands. For example, Miu Miu, Prada, Christian Dior, Maison Margiela, Gucci, and basically the funny thing is they focus is on the shop and on the catwalk. So when I was going, let's say in the shop, I wanted a specific pair of shoes that I saw on the website, and they will say to me, well, we haven't produced them, or there are only 2 numbers in the world, or, oh, this never went into production. So that shows you how they were not exploiting the e-commerce, the sales online, which was mainly the tool of second-hand retailers, for example, Outnet, Farfetch, where they were just focusing on the online sales. So I think one of the challenges that now these companies they are going to be facing is first of all to see how they are going to be using the online channels, which means the e-commerce, which means also the social media, which means everything that is about building virtual community that goes beyond the shop. The shop is probably going to change its value and characteristic. It will be more like an experience. This is the way I see it, like an experience of the world of a brand, and it will gather in different kind of suggestion, value they are around the brand. So I think that one of the things that those brands, they have to focus on is experience, creating an experience for customers to build a community. And then they will have to deal with the online sales. They will have to manage the secondary market, which is another big point. And they will definitely have to engage more on social media, because I think now, particularly with the coronavirus and everything that is happening around the world that was 20, 30 years ago is not there anymore. And
Stefania, thank you. Stefania, thank you. Sorry to interrupt you, because you started a very interesting, topic about the experiences about the going online. So what I want to say that we do see a lot of differences, in between of experiences of the companies. Some companies are digital natives, as for example, the company that Filipa launched when she was 20 years old. So it was a company that was the digital company rental of the fancy dresses since the beginning. And we do have, those fashion brands, so to say, like Prada, as you say. Yeah. You say that they are still, struggling a little bit with some online decisions. In mind about asking Karim and asking Filipa, and I think I'll start probably with Filipa, because as far as I know, actually Farfetch is not only, the e-commerce platform, which is like B2C platform, but it is also a B2B assistant, so to say. And many large brands are surviving this crisis only because, they are fueled by Farfetch. So what I hear, you said, Stefania, the challenges the brands do have, and I think Filipa has something to say on the solution that could be offered. So Filipa, can you go ahead a bit?
Yeah, just
tell a little bit about Farfetch, for those who don't know, if we have some in the audience, and then what Farfetch does for this topic.
Yes, for sure, Jovita. So first of all, to give you an overview about when Farfetch started, it was in 2008. Again, crisis moment globally. And Farfetch is the platform for curators, creators, and customers. So what I do at Farfetch, I work in the innovation team, supporting startups to connect with our internal teams. Since then, a lot has happened in our business model. So we started with this marketplace where we were sourcing supply from boutiques all over the world. Then we evolved to supporting brands connected with this marketplace. And what we were providing, and we're still providing through our marketplace, farfetch.com, is demand generation globally. So, for example, now in a pandemic times, there's different regions all over the world having different demand phases. And this is critical to our boutique partners and brand partners when we look at the Asia market, that it's already recovering. There's already demand there. They're able, even if they're a small boutique in Italy, to actually have demand generated by Farfetch and still be able to sell all over the world. And this is not only the technology in terms of e-commerce and website, but it's all the logistics, the customer service. And we're really supporting these boutiques through this crisis moment to still be able to ship because their stores are closed. So this is actually their lifeline. This is the only way they're able to sell right now. It's through these e-commerce channels. So what was before, Stefania, I totally agree with you around what was a nice to have. Now it's a must have for brands to go online and accelerate their digitization and their e-commerce. And not only do we have the B2C model, which is the marketplace, but we are using this technology to also power the e-commerce of brands. So some of the brands we power their e-commerce are, for example, Emilio Pucci from the LVMH group. We also power Harrods, which is one of the biggest department stores globally. So the same technology that was built for the marketplace is now powering, and we see an accelerated interest and demand by many players in the industry that now realize they need to accelerate this digitization process. We also have other business units. One of them is Store of the Future, where we partner with Chanel. So we power all of their in-store experiences with a lot of interesting technology that allows, for example, shop floor assistants during this pandemic to still be in touch with their end customer via apps and tools. So there's different lines of business that we operate, enabling, again, small businesses like boutiques or also brands through this technology to be able to sell globally. And in this case, one thing that I feel it's very important for brands is to tell their own story and control the narrative. So that's why it's so important for brands now to actually focus on building their own direct-to-consumer e-commerce channels. And that's why enabling technology is as important as providing access to the end consumer in the marketplace. So the B2B side of things becomes very relevant when you as a brand, you want to create your own narrative, you want to control the storyline, you want to control how do you contact these customers, but you still need a partner to help you on the technological side of things, on how to manage logistic at global scale. We're talking about more than 2 million customers that we have. And all of this requires specialization. The same way that fashion, it's about art and storytelling and beautiful product and craftsmanship. This pairs very well, but it's a very different world to the technology world. And what we're doing is trying to enable these brands to really partner with us and have the scale through the technology.
Thank you, Filipa. I'll stop you here because we'll come back to the topics later. And when I hear about this creativity and technology, I do remember Karim and his initiative. So Karim, we would like, because we just spoke of the Farfetch, the fashion brands, so to say, who already have established connections with many big brands. But I think people do need an alternative. And I think that Karim has an alternative also to say one of the decisions to offer. So Karim, can you tell us a little bit more about your company and what you are doing and what would be, the solutions from your side?
Yes, for sure. So basically, VISORE Lab is a curator of interactive digital experiences. Our main goal is to connect fashion to hospitality, which sounds very odd at the beginning because a lot of brands ask themselves, what should I do with hospitality? I don't know the industry. What added value has the hospitality sector for me as a brand? So our main goal is to give brands, especially emerging and sustainable brands, the possibility to sell in venues such as hotels all around the world without the need to have a physical store. So basically, when we created VISORE Lab, the idea was to support brands that don't want to open physical stores. They only want to sell online. So, for example, on Farfetch or on other platforms, but they still want to communicate with the consumers in physical spaces. And that's why we started speaking to the hospitality industry and trying to bridge the gap between fashion and hospitality, placing our digital platform in hotels. So we have created a platform, an interactive magazine that allows consumers to shop right away from the videos and editorials that they discover in physical spaces. So we'll redirect them to the e-commerce platform of the brand, also, for example, to bigger e-commerce players, or bridge and make it possible for brands to communicate to the guests in the hotel. That's one product that we have created at VISORE. And the second one is our digital showroom that is more simple to understand. It's a B2B product that should give the possibility to brands to digitalize their collections and present it to buyers, but also to press, to their community, and send it through a link to their audience.
I say, you know, I've Googled a little bit and did some research. My compliments, everything is very aesthetically pleasing. So at least to my eye, you know, it's a matter of taste, but but the content of the VISORE lab to me is aesthetically pleasing. So as a customer, probably I would be impacted, you know, of what I see. So speaking of the experiences, because what I hear from Stefania, I hear from Filipa, and I hear from Karim, you know, that it's all about the customer experience. It's not only about the product itself, because we have, you know, plenty dresses, but it's all also about the experience. So Sukhi, how do you deal with this experience aspect in the lockdown? Because if someone is going to spend, I don't know, 10 grand on the, you know, some ring once in a lifetime, they do want an experience. I say they probably do not want to get a box, you know, simply delivered. So how do you deal with this?
Yeah, so you know, I'm just going to piggyback from what Filipa was saying. You know, she hit the nail on the head when she said it's all about the customer experience now. So it's the technical side just enables the experience to be better. But at the end of the day, when a customer walks into your store, they think they're buying a product, and they are, but the most important thing that they're actually purchasing is the experience. And it's that experience which will bring them back into the store. So this is one of the reasons why Apple, you know, everyone has an Apple phone. Apple is succeeding so much because when you walk into their physical store, they have a huge one here in London on Regent Street. 50% of the people in that store are the sales assistants, and within seconds you're already being served by somebody. It's a very nice place to be in. There are plenty of people there, the sales assistants, to come and help you choose what you want and basically help you make the best decision. And that's what really makes the experience good. You need to have tools in place to help the customer make the best decision. You know, the customer doesn't want to feel like they've been sold to. They want to feel like they made the decision. So the customer experience is really vital. And just coming back to as well what Stephanie was saying about the big brands like Gucci and Prada, they focus very much on their in-store sales, and it's not complemented by the e-commerce section. And I think this is an issue with a lot of retail shops that operate in high value kind of products. So with gold and diamond jewelry, the sort of biggest concern or issue that we have is most customers want to go in store and get advice and knowledge from the salesperson before they part with quite a significant amount of money. So when someone walks into your store and they want to buy that special diamond ring, jewelry is always almost an emotional purchase, because you're either buying it for someone you care about or for yourself. It's a nice treat. So you want to feel like you're making a good decision. So with the retail shops, the in-store experience, it is sometimes there, but it has to be complemented by the e-commerce element. And at MarketOrders, we are a B2B platform. So what we are really doing is helping the retail shops to make better decisions based on the data that we can collect on the types of products that they're ordering and the types of products they're able to sell. Because in the gold industry, one of the other issues that they suffer from is if a item doesn't sell, the gold can be melted back down and it can be recycled into new products, which is good because you're recycling products, but it's also not good because the retailer has just paid thousands of pounds for that particular design to be put into production. So you really don't want to be melting away your design costs and making charges. You really want to sell the product to the end consumer. So what we really are focusing on is that user experience, helping retailers to purchase the products that they know will sell well. And at the same time, we're also giving the logistics and postal service and delivering the products online as well. And again, this is something that's very new to the industry. Some retailers, they're still not comfortable with, £20,000 worth of diamond rings being posted to them and picking it up in the post office or getting it through the front door. They still want someone to come in and hand it over to them because they think it's more secure. So it's actually also about how do you change the mindset to encouraging customers and retailers to really believe that the technology is there to make the process more efficient, and you can still give a really great experience to the retailers and to the end consumers. So it's just about making the user experience easy, making the design aesthetically looking nice and inviting, and just making sure that the customer feels like they're getting a really great experience when they're buying from you.
Thank you, Sukhi. These are very valuable insights. It's all very interesting. And Stefania, do you have anything to add on customer experience aspect?
Well, I think the customer experience is kind of changing, as Sukhi was saying, because of technology. And I think what they are looking for is value and quality. So, and this is where the new technology can really come in, because, sharing value through communities, creating this kind of virtual community is quite powerful at the moment. And the model of using influencer is dead. So there are no more influencer like celebrity and stuff like that. I think what the new generation is looking for is looking for something that is more real, that they are looking for the real person. They don't want to look at somebody that is only successful and it doesn't reflect their own life. And also on the other side of the quality, I think this is where, for example, blockchain could come in, or other new technology where you can ensure the provenance, where the your item that you want to buy comes from. For example, it comes from a place that is reliable, the people, they work there, and all the supply chain is a sustainable supply chain, so every person work and time is rewarded properly and there is no abuse. So I think all these elements of the supply chain that ensure the provenance, they are very important for the customer, because you, like in the food industry, you want to know where I'm buying, where this fruit is coming from, how it was grown. And I think this consciousness, this awareness of what we are eating, what we are taking, what we are using, what we are buying is getting more and more importance for us as the world is changing.
So thank you, Stefania. I think let's leave, the value aspect, the values aspect for the end of our discussion, because I think the topic of sustainability and the topic of, the new values, like real values, I think it's the topic, we can discuss for hours. Actually, recently there has been a large conference on this online. I think some of you have joined. So ending up with the customer experience, from this, so to say, commercially pleasing aspect. Because the value aspect is definitely there. The customers, I can see, they do want, to know the values. They want to share the values with the company. The second hand, it's not the future. It's like nowadays. So ending up with this, visually pleasing commercial experience. Karim, have you noticed any differences in between of Europe, so to say, maybe Asia? Because, probably the capital of fashion is China now. So unfortunately, we don't have anyone from China on this panel. Next time we'll do, I think. So Karim,
yes.
From this aspect, like customer experience, visually pleasing experiences, have you spotted any differences on the continent, on the island, and any other country?
I mean, we are a startup, so we only launched some months ago in 2019. So when we were looking at the different markets and deciding if we should start in Europe or in Asia, the first thing everyone said was like, okay, let's start in Europe because we're based in Paris. We have our network in Europe, so it makes sense to start in Europe, right? But after doing the analysis, speaking to clients and customers in Europe and doing the same in Asia, we noticed that our product and what we want to sell, so the fact to combine, for example, fashion and hospitality and mix it with technology, is something that, especially in China, people understood within within a minute. And in Europe, there's still like another approach. It doesn't mean that Europeans are not tech savvy. That's not what I'm saying. But there's still like the idea in certain, especially in France where we're based, that traditions, the culture, the French culture, the French fashion industry should not become like the others, and that's why the mix between technology and fashion is not as strong and prominent as in Asia. So yes, I've definitely noticed differences between the markets, but I think that's what makes it interesting. We can all learn from one another, and it's not a secret that Asia, and in this case China, is really at forefront and a leader when it comes to digitalization and digital innovation.
Filipa, do you have anything to add, in respect of working with different markets on the aspect of client experience, acceptance of innovations, like openness to the innovations?
Yeah, definitely. So we work with a global team, and for us, we see that the trends are just having higher and faster adoption in the China market. So some of the trends we are seeing, they are very now, but that already happen in China. For example, live streaming. So how do you connect people that are not meeting in person? And live streaming for e-commerce in China represents almost 10% of e-commerce in China. So it is a lot of value, and this is something that we expect adoption in other markets, but it's just going to take longer. Other things are, for example, 3D. And I think post-pandemic, because as Stefania was saying, the stores will not be the same. And you also will see social distancing, so you'll not have the same number of people in the stores. So how are you going to enable this experience to be different in the store, but also outside of the store? And I mean, 3D will very likely accelerate from 3D design, where we see brands, for example, in big fashion groups like PVH, which is the owner of Tommy Hilfiger and many other brands, starting to design in 3D. These 3D assets then don't require samples. And then you can use these same 3D assets to touch the customer experience in a B2C way. So you can use all these 3D digital assets for virtual try-on. And we see, of course, much higher adoption of these technologies. We did a pilot in China for virtual try-on of sneakers. Went extremely well. We are now doing virtual try-on for eyewear because people cannot go to the stores. So how can they try on online and see how the eyewear looks? And we're seeing extremely positive results, things that probably 1 or 2 years ago would feel gimmicky. Now people are definitely more open, and we're talking about luxury brands and luxury products. So it's just a combination of factors that makes it the right moment. And you also will notice that pricing of all of this technology is going dramatically down. So the combination of consumers being more open, combined with the reduction in pricing, makes it the right time to actually have this at scale. So I think probably in this year and the next couple of years, you will see virtual try-on and digitization of the fashion through the whole chain, not only on the consumer, not only on the designers. For example, how are designers going to sell their collections to the buyers, right? So they can use digital showrooms. So there's a lot of usage of one asset through the whole chain, which makes it economically more viable. So a lot of exciting things happening in this space. And the pandemic is just accelerating the innovation pace. These were all here. The themes are the same as 1 year ago. They're just coming to market much faster.
That's interesting to know. As a customer, I would be pleased, to have expensive items with the cheap technology helping me to get them. So as you were simply telling. So okay, Stefania. So I'm sorry I jumped from your question, about and insights about the values, because I think it's time to come back about the customers and the values they do want. So we already have, a shift from the fast fashion. Everyone is not already using like secondhand, etc. But I think it is getting new forms of that. So what would be your insights about what's going to happen, with the fast fashion? Because whether we all going to wear luxury items, and it's going to be accessible, available, etc. Is the fast fashion disappearing? How the technology is interplaying with this? So Stefania, do you have any insights on this?
Well, I think definitely that the secondary market is going to have a big boost, particularly after this pandemic, where there will be less availability of money to buy new expensive items, and these big brands, they want to lower their price. They would be very concerned to do that, because obviously they will make a big loss. So I think the secondary market, particularly pre-owned luxury items, it will have a big boost. And for now, we have seen charity getting this item for free, so the ex-owner was not paid. You never knew the history of the item. Maybe it was owned by a celebrity, and then I just pick up for £5 in a charity shop. Or there are some specific shop, they are selling through the shop still with manual verification and things. So what I'm seeing, I think there will be much more development, much more expansion also of the way to sell pre-owned luxury items, which doesn't mean that the company they are doing already online, they are not going to succeed. I think the market is just going to change. And I think also one of the very important things, it will be how blockchain is going to be used here in order to verify the authenticity and also the history of each luxury item. So I don't think that fast fashion is going to die now, because cheap things are still needed, and it's not everybody is rich. But I think what we are going to see a bigger share of the market taken by the secondary, by the sales of pre-owned luxury items.
Thank you, Stefania. So I'm saving one question about the blockchain, for Sukhi, so you can have that in mind. And before that, I'm jumping to Filipa, because I know that Farfetch is already also having, a sales of pre-owned designer items. So can you give any comments on that? How technology helps? Does it have any interplay? Are there any trends, you have noticed within the COVID context?
Yeah, so Farfetch, we have a director of sustainability. It's something very close to our chief commercial officer. He's also Italian, and he realized already a long time ago how important this would be to people, all about transparency, provenance. So we are using technology partners, and we are working with startups to actually power a few initiatives that we have. I can talk very briefly about 3. One of them is we use a company called Good On You to power our rating of sustainable brands. So if I'm a conscious shopper, I can go to Farfetch and I have basically access to shop consciously. So there's tags, and this is all powered through technology of Good On You, which rates every single brand on how they perform on sustainability. So this is not something we do ourselves. It's because we are a platform, we partner with technology companies. Another initiative that we do have is for the UK market with Thrift, which is a startup, early stage, that helps people donate to their favorite charities, but also get credits back on Farfetch. So you order basically a package, you put the clothes you want to donate or resell, and this early stage startup photographs, sells it for you, and then 1/3 goes to your favorite charity and 1/3 goes back to Farfetch credits. And we also launched 1 year ago Second Life, which is our buyback program. Again, Stefania, recognizing that the pre-owned market is booming, and it should represent around 10% of people's closets very soon. So we always had pre-owned since very early on Farfetch. So people can buy pre-owned on Farfetch. And this is pre-owned from the most pristine condition. Okay, but now we also allow people to sell back things they have in their closets. In this case, through Second Life, you can sell your designer bag in exchange for Farfetch credit. And this is very fast because it's money up front, basically. So we give the credits up front. You don't need to wait for someone else to buy your bag. We are helping you shorten this cycle. So these are a few initiatives. There's more to come, but we definitely recognize that the customer is looking for companies that share these transparency values, that understand about how fashion should be circular and conscious. And we are not doing it just by ourselves. We are partnering with others that are specialists in these areas and can support us. And we are very happy to support other entrepreneurs as well.
Can I ask you, is it commercially pleasing? Because I know that it's pleasing, from the value aspect, but can you tell us a secret? Is it like now, not in the future, but is it now commercially pleasing?
Yeah, we're seeing great metrics. So for us, programs like, when we see that programs like Second Life turn customers into more loyal customers because they're coming back with the credits and they're spending more than other customers on average. And they're buying more full price items. So
okay.
This is the perfect customer. They buy less sale and they buy higher average order values. And they are sustainable. So yeah, we're seeing commercially, it makes sense. And that's why we continue to do more partnerships.
That is all very interesting, because there have been a lot of discussions, how to employ these technologies for the sake of Farfetch is already doing. And one of the discussions I've read a lot about, it was about how, let's say, blockchain technology could help, telling if something is really sustainable. So you already told that you are like making marks, for the products, how, so to say, sustainable they are. So, and I was always keeping the question for Sukhi, because she already has published a few books on blockchain technology. So I was going to ask, can she tell, our audience how the blockchain technology is helping her and how she sees the blockchain technology could also assist, with ensuring transparency within the fashion sustainable line? Because everyone wants to know, where does the product come from. But sorry, Filipa, maybe I'm wrong, but as a customer, I was always lacking, transparency and credibility and understanding, like, what is actually sustainable. Well, keep in mind that I'm a lawyer, we have this scrutiny, for everything, and we don't believe like black, green, or yellow labels simply as that. So what the blockchain has to do with it, Sukhi?
Yeah, so many people don't also have a trust with, if you just put a fair trade sticker on a banana, how do you actually know it's fair trade? So what blockchain essentially does is it basically kind of like independently verifies that the product is what it says it is. And the way it can do that is because of the way the blockchains are structured. One of the keywords they use is decentralized. And what that essentially means is there's no one company or entity or organization that actually owns the data that is sitting behind that particular product. So, for example, in my company, MarketOrders, we are looking to develop a blockchain capability whereby each product can be tracked and traced from the origin of where the gold was sourced from. So which mine did it come from? And then after the gold was extracted from the mine, where to be processed and refined. And then from there, which manufacturer bought the gold and converted it into a particular item. And then from there, where did that particular item of jewelry travel? Maybe it went from, from Africa to Italy to get set, and then it went to India to get a designer to do something on it. And then it got shipped to the UK, and then an end consumer bought it in the UK. So at every point in that item's journey, data is being generated, and these data events can be called events. And these events are basically tracked on the blockchain. So in our company, what we are trying to do, or what we are looking to implement, is putting micro nano chips, which are inserted into the jewelry item piece at the point at the point of production. And at that point, the manufacturer would upload certain information, such as the authenticity of the product, what's the metal composition of the item, and that would be available to be seen by anybody who can access the blockchain, and they can actually read that data. And so, the first aspect of that is the provenance. So what is inside that product, the metal composition, who designed it. And then the second component of that is actually tracing and tracking the logistics of that particular item. And you can actually see where it's the journey. And by tracking the journey, you can also see if it's being, how much carbon was emitted or used during that journey. And so customers can then, once they see the item, they would be able to scan the item on an app that we would produce. That app would connect to the data sitting on the blockchain, and the customer could then see all the information that is related to the item. So they could see where the gold was sourced from. They could see the certificate of whether or not, it was the gold was processed in an environmentally friendly way. And then they could also see the journey to make sure that it was a carbon neutral journey, so that the customer can then make the decisions based on how ethically or sustainably the item was sourced. Because as Filipa and Stefania were saying before, customers are now making choices based on the ethical component and the sustainability, because there's just so much choice now. And if you can make a more empowering choice using the dollars or pounds in your pocket for the same price, I think customers will probably want to make better decisions and feel good about themselves as well, that they're actually making an ethical decision. So in a nutshell, that's what we are looking to use the blockchain capability for. And just touching upon what Stefania said, I also do think that because of the pandemic right now, we are probably going to see a lot of unemployment. We are going to see a lot of people losing their jobs. And I think it's going to decrease the amount of disposable income people have. So there will be a boost to the secondhand luxury marketplace. And again, this is where blockchain capabilities can be used, whereby you can actually prove that this is an authentic Gucci bag or a Louis Vuitton bag. I've had experience of selling my designer handbags and shoes on a secondhand marketplace. And even though there are some companies out there who are doing a good job, I always used to get questions from customers asking me to verify and validate that the item was authentic. And sometimes even when I sent them the picture of the certificate that comes with the item, even then they would be questioning whether or not it was really authentic. So I think there is a power in technology when people do trust it. And if you can, scan the item and it's independently being verified that this is an authentic Gucci or Louis Vuitton bag, and that's the power of the blockchain. It's not just me saying this is authentic. It's actually everybody who's on that protocol is saying, yes, this is authentic. And that's the only way that particular data can be processed, and it will show up on the blockchain because it shows that it's been validated and it's authentic.
Since we do not have enough time, to go dig deep into the blockchain discussion, because everyone probably of the panel does know that it does have many challenges, because, empowering blockchain, even though the technology is horizontal, you still would probably need a top-down initiative, who would start anything, and you would need the so to say financial probably order satisfaction credits to make it work on. So Karim, question to you. First of all, do you believe that, the future of fashion is going to be sustainable? And what does sustainability mean to you?
It's a very important question. So I just want to say one thing about what just Sukhi said, and I definitely think the blockchain solution, and that's also the future question, is definitely what our industry is about. We need to come up with solutions that allow consumers, customers, to find out where the piece has been produced, what materials, etc., etc. And it's important that big brands, big corporations start working with blockchain, because the small ones, unfortunately, they cannot afford it yet. So there needs to be an approach in the industry that allows even smaller brands to use technologies such as Sukhi technologies and work with companies that support that. Now, to your question, yes, I think the future of fashion is sustainable, but I'd rather also use the word responsible, because it's not just about, sustainability is everywhere. It's in politics, it's in economics, it's at home when you speak with friends, with family. That's great. That means it has an important value, so that's amazing. But I think we need to step down and really see it a little bit different and say, okay, who is actually responsible for it? And it's everyone. It's me as a consumer when I enter a store and then decide what product I want to buy. It's the lady, the man who works in the store and sells it to me. It's a corporation behind it. It's everyone, and everyone can have a big influence on it. And that's what we need to understand. And also, it's not only about the ecological integrity, which is extremely important. It's important to reduce the environmental impact, but it's also about social justice. For me, a topic that is really important to me, and we shouldn't forget about it when we speak about sustainability, and that's why I prefer responsibility, is how do we treat people we work with? Salaries. It's so important to understand, do people who work in factories in Bangladesh get paid actually? That's a question we need to ask ourselves. And do they get paid more than 5 cents an hour? I'm exaggerating now, but it's important to understand how big corporations and how brands treat their workers. And yes, the future of fashion needs to be sustainable, needs to be responsible. There is no way out. The consumers are finally asking for it, and that's why I'm sure that we're going into the right direction.
Well,
and about the second,
please do continue, Karim. If you have something to add, do continue.
No, just about your second question, what it means to me. I mean, it's so important. When I launched my first startup, men's fashion magazine, the first question I asked myself is, how can I be more responsible and more inclusive as an entrepreneur? And with VISORE Lab, my second startup, it's the same. How can we have a sustainable business model that takes care about the environment, but also about the social injustice that unfortunately, and especially in the fashion industry, is strong. There's a lot to do. Everyone needs to improve. Every company, doesn't matter if it's a small brand or a big brand, we all need to accept, to acknowledge, and to give 100% and more to make sure that our industry becomes more sustainable. And
So thanks a lot, Karim, for the insights. And I was also keeping in mind one topic which is related, to the marketing and PR. Since, even though we are speaking of, reaching the customers via experiences, reaching the customers, via the values, but also I would like to speak, a little bit of the technicalities. We've spoken a little bit about the technologies, and now I would like to speak, about the marketing campaigns. For example, you can see fashion marketing in video games, or you can see fashion marketing in the most, interesting places. For example, Karim is suggesting, some fashion experience in collaboration with hotels. So could each of you tell me one or two, insights that you feel would be a good advice for someone who is marketing a fashion business? What would be, very insightful, impactful in today's context? So maybe Stefania, you as you have, marketing experience.
Yeah, sure. So I think that's come back to what I was saying at the beginning about communicating value and creating a community, communicating your brand. And that's something that PR can really help. So you have to build a narrative, a new narrative. You have to tell stories, because it's all about storytelling. And this is where PR can really help to strategically plan campaigns that shows, that basically help the brand to showcase what it is, what he believes in, what you want to serve, and what kind of product he can provide to enhance their customer experience and their needs as well. So PR is definitely very important, and it's more important now when there is this crisis and is changing storytelling than ever has been. So that is my take.
Thank you, Filipa. Anything, any, because we are, having only like almost 5 minutes left. So just sharp insights regarding marketing or fashion in COVID context.
Yeah, just some examples on how we totally agree with the Stefania points. We actually have our homepage all with a project called Communities, where we provide content from influencers done in a very authentic way instead of editorial, and this is a strategy that we implemented more than a year ago. So we're totally aligned that customers are looking for authenticity, and also it's all about inclusion. So I think you will see fashion having many different shapes, different colors. There's going to be a lot happening, I hope, soon, because it's part of fashion responsibility. As Karim, you were saying, and there's technology that can help with this. So that's the good news. And there's companies that are big enough to be able to power and test these technologies. So yeah, very exciting times. It's of course a time of challenges, a lot of change, but it's also very exciting to see that some things that need to change will probably change. So it's good.
Thank you, Filipa. And Sukhi, what are your insights on this?
So I'm going to go back to basics, actually. I think the most important thing, especially when there's a pandemic, is the ability to still keep in direct contact with your consumers and your customers. So I would always say to people, make sure that you actually have a newsletter that goes out to all of your customers, because even if you are using other marketing tactics or, Facebook advertising or even social media to get your message and brand out, you can still own completely the narrative when you send out dedicated and personalized newsletters and emails to your customers. So I think still that emails and newsletters are still not really fully used to their maximum potential. And for example, if you have a business whereby you only sell through a physical presence, and if that physical shop is closed down, then you're really going to get stuck and you won't be able to communicate with your customer. So I would always say, have a newsletter that goes out either once or twice a month. Send out really engaging content. Tell customers why you're special and why they should shop with you. So even if things are really crazy outside and your shop is being closed and there's a pandemic going around, you still have a tool in place to keep talking to your customer and either educating them or entertaining them with insightful content, but also giving them the reassurance that you're still there and you're still ready to serve them when we come out of lockdown and this pandemic.
Great, thank you, Sukhi. And Karim, what are your final insights, on advertising in these difficult times?
I just think it's all about culture. Give your consumer, your customer, a reason to buy your product and to get emotionally attached to it. So go beyond the consumership, so that the consumer not only buys the product, but buys basically the experience, your story, and your values.
So this is great. Thanks a lot to everyone. We are having, only 2 last minutes. So does any one of you has, something left on your heart which remains untold, to the audience? Would you like to share it? A last insight. Everyone feels comfortable. So Filipa, are the big companies making the fashion sustainable?
Well, it's in progress, right? You cannot do it overnight. We can only start, and we started. So I think that's very important. And also giving awareness to our partners, because we work with many brands, right? So we can also share with them these technologies, and we can also have this multiplier effect. So that's also part of our role, is to influence as a platform the people that participate in this platform, being customers, being brands. So yeah, I think we have our role, and we're starting.
Sure. Jovita, can I just add on that? I think she brought up, Filipa just brought up a very important aspect about partnership. And I think when things are changing and a brand has to kind of reinvent himself or up to date with a new normal, partnership are really important, and they can also help you to leapfrog into new areas that otherwise you wouldn't be able to develop yourself in a short time. Partnership now is so important, and any kind of company should look to partner to grow and learn and become bigger. I think that was a great point.
Thank you, Stefania. So thank you, everyone. Thanks to all this great panel who has joined me. So Karim, Coppola, Sukhi, Jutla, Filipa, Neto, and Stefania, Barbaglio. We had, some people, more people from Italy than usually, but it's fashion topics, so I think it's normal to have. So thanks a lot, everyone. I think we're gonna have, lots of great partnerships after this event. And for the audience, you have to know that you do have a possibility to invite the participants of the panel for personal chat. So in case any of you is interested, in the insights of the panel is deeper on, do write an email, do put a question on chat, or do, apply through the platform. So thanks everyone. And I think let's wait, for the final photo. So bye everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much. Bye.